All right, everybody, come on in, come on in. Thank you all so much for being here. For anybody new here, hi. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher, and we would like to welcome you to the Wives Club. The Wives Club was started in 2021 when I booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels. And it was because I was always convicted whenever he would say, "Where are the older women to teach the young?" So, what we do each week is we review Kevin's content and give our perspective as older women. You all know Luke Paisley. I'll let her introduce herself. She was and is a moderator on Kevin's channel. So, Lucy, please introduce yourself and let us know why you wanted to pick tonight's episode.
Yes, hi, I'm Lucy, also known as Luke Paisley. Uh, the Godfather baptized me with that name when he used to see my name as the moderator. And I think that's either we met like through the Godfather, through Kevin Samuels, Maggie, or through the lead attorney. I don't remember how we got together. And the reason I have a channel, my channel is most of the content is Spanish speaking for those who want to learn basic Spanish. But then this year, I changed the content to more of femininity and elegance in things that impact, just topics that impact women of a certain age, over a certain age. And I think I've told you all not 2 weeks ago, I turned 58. So it's those, we talk about menopause and about how the body changes, how emotionally we change. But I'm still just going back and forth between Spanish and some of those topics. And I need to post something because I know that I have left that channel without much content for the part of last 2 months, but I need to start uploading more. Anyway, the reason I chose this topic was because I think either on our last Thursday session, we were talking about women studying our men, wanting to know, desiring to know what is it that they want from us. And I saw this topic. He titled it, Modern Women Don't Know or Understand Modern Men. So I thought that would be a good still connection to what we were talking about last week.
All right, everybody, and I'm going to take my glasses off because of the glare. I'm traveling, so I'm in a different location. I'm looking down at my notes here, and so we're going to get right into it. As always, I have put the link to the episode in the description. This one was a long one, and admittedly, I made it about 2/3 of the way through. It's about a 3-hour episode, but you all know how Kevin does it. He has a monologue, and then he invites women to call up and either ask questions and he can give feedback, and that's when it always gets pretty interesting. So we'll just start from the beginning. I'm looking at my notes here, and he was talking about women not understanding. He called it modern men, and of course, I would never disagree. But I'm thinking, you know, masculine men or traditional men in modern times. That's what I was thinking about when I was listening to this. So you all know the Godfather was the king of facts, data, and statistics. I admittedly am not. I am an older woman with marriage and long-term relationship experience, but one of the points that Kevin was driving home in the beginning of this episode is about the average salary. And he talked about this a lot, basically, how we modern women are uninformed and quite ignorant about what the average man makes. So the point is, and I encourage you to listen to it if you have time, but the point is the average salary for most men in America between $40 and $50,000, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. A lot of women who were asked thought that the average salary was in the $75 to $80,000 range. So what that means is that if you are a man who is making, three-quarter of $100,000 or more, you're actually in the top 15%. And Kevin's niche was top 1%, 10%, 15% men on their way to being in the top. But he said what happens is modern women, because they think what is actually above average is just average, we don't show respect to the men who are making in the 75 and $80,000 amount. So we go into it just thinking like, oh yeah, I'll get another one of them, another one's coming around the corner. And we soon realize, painfully so, that we had the best opportunity and we blew it. So I always love that, when Kevin kind of grounds us with the statistics. And I think the takeaway for me, ladies, and one of the things that I would encourage you to do is realize that men that are the caliber of men that we want, they didn't wake up like this. It took them a lot to get there. And Kevin said that in this episode. It is a process. So having that appreciation and that gratitude and that humility that comes along with, oh, this is the type of guy that other women want, you may act differently. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree, and I do have to say that most of the women that called in that night on that show did realize, did finally acknowledge that their idea about an average salary was completely off. So again, we were seeing some kind of progress, even though with these calls it was two-step forwards, five-step backs because of how they behaved. But it's a good thing. They were kind of getting it back then. I think that was maybe 3 years ago or so. So, and also I think that women will realize how bad things are for them once the economy, if the economy keeps going down. I mean, you see those women complaining about how bad things are on social media. So again, I think that reality hits them, and sometimes it hits them when it's too late. And what we're trying to do here, and what Kevin was trying to do, was to let them know that they still had time, but there was an urgency, and that's why sometimes he was fatherly. At least for me, it was fatherly. For some women, it was too harsh. I think he wanted to get that urgency about women understanding how it was so important that if you were in the age of getting married and making sure that you were with the man that you were going to spend the rest of your life with, not to waste your time. So again, in this I think it was 2.5 hour video, I think the women that called in did acknowledge that they had the average salary for men incorrectly.
Okay, absolutely. So, one more point I want to make about the monologue, and then we will go into the callers. Another takeaway, and I always like to give the ladies some tangible things that you can take away and have your own homework and get better. So, now that we have established that most of us really don't understand that the men that we think are average are actually above average, especially because, let's face it, and Kevin said that again in this episode, most of us are average. I have said, and I will continue to say, I am happily average. So we really need to adjust our expectations because we're not as amazing as we think we are. And there are a lot of us. So the other thing that Kevin said, modern women have been hearing this drumbeat of you don't need a man. Maybe it came from social media. Maybe you were raised by a single mother. Maybe you had bitter older women in your family. But you have this, I've heard the term from one of my consults, modern woman programming that, men are just kind of like, oh, yeah, they're useless. You don't really need a man. Okay, fine. So which I completely disagree with. But what happens, ladies, and the point I'm trying to make is one day in your life, you will encounter a man that grabs your attention just by his presence, and you will know him when you see him. And I want our ladies to be prepared for that. So, what I'm telling you is realize that you don't know these men, you don't know how they move, and you don't know how to handle yourself around these men. And like Lucy said, by the time you realize that, it may be too late. So, what you can do is start studying these men. When Kevin Samuel says, we modern women don't know men and we don't understand them, I'm going to add a few words in there. We don't take the time to know men and to study men. You can absolutely study how men move, the caliber of men that you want, and start realizing, oh, I've got a lot to learn. Okay, I need to be, useful in this area. I need to be better communicative in this area. I need to be more agreeable in this area. And start watching and then seeing the type of women that they keep around and the type of women that are not in their orbit. Because the problem is, ladies, if you just think, oh, I've got it like that, wait till he sees the likes of me, you're going to be sadly mistaken. So that was the takeaway that I wanted to say, and really respect these men, because again, they, like he said, it's facts over feelings with these men. And just because you feel a certain way or have all these excuses about, well, I didn't know, or my upbringing, or I was young and dumb, or I didn't have this. There was one caller where Kevin said, okay, well, what are you doing about it now? And that's what you have to realize. Masculine men, they're not here for the excuses, because they don't take excuses in their own life. So if you realize that you are not up to par, like I work every day and I got a correction today, you need to make sure that you are actively working on getting better. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree. And another thing is that as women, we've been so comfortable with the life that our men have provided that now we have taken our men for granted. Now the men are saying, well, you know what? You wanted to be left alone. I will leave you alone. So now women are going to have, you're going to be working harder to get that man that maybe 5 years ago, just a little look and a smile and, that feminine just movement would have caught his eye. Now you're going to have to work twice as hard. So again, I think that all that men want is a woman that is fit, feminine, friendly, and cooperative. So we're going to get through that to that on these calls.
Absolutely. And thank you all so much in the chat. I just want to say hello. We got Marlon saying, you two are wise women. I love to hear you two speak. Thank you so much. Live, love, plan, pray says, such uplifting, beautiful women. Appreciate the both of you. Thank you so much. And Rich Reloaded says, hey, mamas. Hello. Thank you so much. We would love to hear what you all have to say in the chat. All right, so more notes here. The other thing that Kevin said, one of the things that was a theme that you heard on these calls, and you also hear if you ask most modern women, why do you want a man? Why do you want to be married? Any of these things. The list that you're going to get back is I want, I want, I want. Like he is your permanent plus one. And one of the callers, I think he asked her, okay, but what skills do you have that are going to be useful to the man that you want? And she drew a complete blank. So, ladies, you need to be thinking about this. This is part of why we don't really understand men, because we think me just being here is enough. And my man asked me either yesterday or today, he said, look at any man with a wife. Do you think all she does is just sit there? Or does she serve a purpose in his life? So, young ladies, especially, or women who want to be in relationship, I would urge you to start looking at the wives or the women that have the type of relationships that you want and see how they move with their husbands. They're not just arm candy. That's the very, very rare pageant beauty knockout. That's not us. You're going to have to work very hard and compete. The other thing, Kevin talked a lot about it on this episode, is the single mother epidemic, and we've talked about it before. But ladies, it just bears repeating. The overarching theme, Kevin told multiple women called in and they had children from multiple men, never had been married, probably not involved, and men do not want that. And we have this, I'm going to say it's arrogance, that we can do whatever we want for as long as we want to do it. And then when we get tired and we get ready, we expect someone to come in and save the day. And Kevin said something that I captured. He said, women without children want a husband. Women with children want a stepfather. And ladies, whether you realize it or not, you may think you're great, and I'll put myself on the hot seat. I always do. My man flat out told me, he loves me and I love him, but he does not want a blended family. And I have two children from marriage, and they actually live with my ex-husband, and we get along and co-parent really well. But men, even men who have children of their own, don't want another man's children. So if you already have children, is it over for you? No. Is it going to be harder for you? Absolutely. And like Kevin told one woman that called in, she actually had two children and a man that was, she thought was husband material. And he told her, don't mess this up because you are incredibly lucky. And she said, how do I not mess it up? And it was kind of harsh what he said. He said, go visit the gravesite and the old folks' home with the women who never married, never had kids, and find out what they did to mess it up. It was a little harsh, but what would you add, Lucy?
I agree. I mean, the fact that he was letting those young women know that having children out of wedlock is going to be, and getting a man to be able to marry you and bring you in with those children into his world is going to be much harder to do. So again, if you want that, you better be working overtime to figuring out if you already have a man that is has shown you signs that um, he could take you in as a wife and your children. You better be working overtime to do whatever it takes to make that man happy, and make sure that if you are hitching your wagon to that man, that you give the man 100% leadership over your children, even though they're not theirs. Allow the man to be the disciplinary and to do things that he needs to do to get those children on check.
Absolutely. And I hear you all cringing now. And as a mother, I understand that, but this is the reason why you wait and do it the right way. Like Kevin said, marry before you carry. All right. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat. Marlon Christopher says, we don't have enough women advocating for men. We thank you. Thank you. That's one of the things that I love so much. There's a lot of spaces out here, but I love that men actually vouch for what we're saying. We speak to the women here. There was a part of this episode where Kevin was really going hard on men who make excuses. I don't touch that. We are the older women teaching the young, so I appreciate the support from the men. Next Level says, I saw a 61-year-old woman this week say that she wants a six-figure man. You can't make it up. And Next Level says, for most modern women, a husband is another name for a retirement plan. Yeah, ladies, and they have picked up on that. Auntie Jenny's on Instagram agreeing with the discipline. So if you are not ready for that, then you may have to, like my man told me, finish what you started, and then you have your chance. So you don't have pick of the litter forever. I think there was another caller, she called in and he said, you're not going to be 23 and cute forever. So it is a very small window. I wanted to talk a little bit about two callers. One caller, she called in, and I think this is one of the single moms, and I think she was 23 with a 1 year old or whatever it is. And she's dating, she doesn't really understand men, she's in nursing school. It was just kind of a lot of chaos. But he told her, you've put yourself behind the eight ball, which just means you've made it harder for yourself. Is it the end of the world? Again, no. But when you have any disadvantage, whether it's children, whether you're not as fit as you need to be, maybe you're older. There was something that Kevin said that I kind of chuckled. He said when he was growing up, the plump women were some of the nicest ones and always seemed to have a man. The point is that, ladies, if you have strikes against you in the relationship marketplace with a masculine man, if you want to be a boss babe, this does not apply to you. Not all, not all, not all. But if you know that you are not putting your best foot forward in the view of the man that you want, You have to overperform in the areas where you can. So this is something that I do. I know that I'm a mom. I know that I'm not my fittest. So I work on being absolutely agreeable. I study my man, anticipate his needs. Like he told me, and I'll tell you all some advice. He says, find out what that man likes and do it, and do it better than him. That's how you make yourself useful. Don't just sit around and expect somebody to um, understand and appreciate and say, oh, well, you were raised in this type of environment or whatever. Once you become an adult, a man expects you to be knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, and actively working on them. The other thing I wanted to say, there was a woman from New York who called in. Shout out to New York. And her speech was a challenge. She just had a very thick, and I'll say it, masculine way of speaking. And he would ask her a question, and she would say, yeah. And he said, yes. And she was like, oh, you too? Yeah. No, I think she said, you too? Yes. With a little bit of attitude. Ladies, you can be as flippant as you want to be. But here's what I noticed in that interaction. Kevin was really trying to help her, letting her know you have this, I don't know how to describe it. You have this sensibility of you that is not as polished as the men that you want to be with would want. So you need to work on that. And she immediately went into, well, I grew up in New York, I'm from the Bronx, all this stuff. And I don't want to say nobody cares, but ladies, nobody cares. Meaning, if you're getting feedback from the caliber of men that you think are husband material, you called into Kevin Samuel's show. And this could be to any of you ladies who are around the type of men that you admire. If they give you feedback, you need to receive that feedback, let it sink in, even if it hurts, and act on it. Because number one, they don't have to say anything at all. They can just leave you to figure it out your doggone self. But what she did is she was defending herself why she was that way. And I have seen this. I have heard everything from I didn't know, I'm not really this way, this person brings it out of me, my mother should have done this. And he told her, he said, you know what? You like to argue, you like to debate. And he said, men don't like that. And she was like, no, they don't. So she's heard this before, which shows that not only with Kevin, but with other men that have given her feedback, you've let it go in one ear and out the other ear. You didn't act on it. So that shows you're not really cooperative. So what men do when they see that and they're like, yeah, it's not worth my time. And she was 23, she was young, and I didn't see her because I was just listening. And so apparently she was attractive. And she's the one he said, you're not going to be 23 and cute forever. So ladies, you got to get on it when you get this feedback if you're serious about a relationship. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree. I think she even made it sound like she was model. She looked like a model, very young, um, but that speech she did speak with a masculine tonality. And one of the things that she said was, well, she started bringing up all her certifications about being on technology and all of these things. And she said that the last guy that she dated wound up ended up with a woman that was much less good looking than she was. And then Kevin goes, so so you're saying that she was much less than you? She's like, yeah. So she didn't get it. He was trying to tell her, why are you referring to somebody else as somebody being much less than you? So again, she had this thing about being above everybody else, but she wasn't getting that it was her fault. It was her own doing that at 23, 21 or 23, I don't remember how old she was in that position where all the men that that showed any interest lost interest. And it was because he said, because you don't stop talking. And then every time he said, stop talking, she would continue saying something. Oh, Swabdi, thank you so much. Thank you for your $10 super chat. Oh my goodness, thank you. you're sponsoring tonight's uh, uh, session. So he said, because you won't stop talking. And then she kept talking and she didn't get it. At the end, she asked him, so what do you think I should be doing to be more, to to be able to get more men to like me or whatever? She didn't get it. All of the tips. Oh, he said, you say you earn good money, book a session. Book a session, book a session.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Swati, for the support. We appreciate it so much. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat. Auntie Jenny's on Instagram saying, I'm old. All I can be is an assistant at this age. Well, ladies, it's true. I mean, we older women, we use your youth and beauty while you can. We got Christopher Williams in the house, such a huge sponsor over here. I got something special he's done for me while I've been traveling. So stay tuned for that. Yes, Auntie Jenny, they want to see you over on YouTube. We got Killis in the house. She says, wanting is no problem. Getting is a whole different thing. That is so true. There was a point in the call where Kevin said something that struck me. He said, men are judged by the caliber of women that they can attract. Women are judged by the caliber of men that they can keep. And Kevin always used to make this distinction. You know, women would say, I'm talking to, I'm dealing with, I'm engaged to. None of that matters. Um, if you don't have a relationship with the type of man that you admire, that you respect, that you look up to you, there's something to be learned from that. Because masculine men, the men that we want, they move with purpose. They move towards or away from things intentionally. A lot of us women are just like, I'll speak for myself. I always tell it on myself here, but I have a tendency to be a little impulsive. Not in a bad way, but I get excited and sometimes I just do things because in my mind, oh, that sounds like a great idea. And I was talking to my man earlier today and I had done something impulsive and it's kind of like, well, nothing bad has happened yet. I know, y'all, I know. But I'm sharing with you, we all struggle. And I said, oh, yeah, I did this thing. You know, it was a technology thing. I was like, I haven't had any errors with it yet. He was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why didn't you check it before you press the button? And I was like, oh, but it's fine. And I said, you know how I am. I'm not going to change. And I quote, mean old mister said, oh, yeah, you will change if you're going to be with me. And I was like, so now I could argue, I could get hurt feelings, I could pout, but he's giving me feedback. He has told me, Maggie, you need to slow down. And it's hard for me, but no excuses. He continues to give me feedback. We've been together 12 years. So, ladies, I'm telling you, if you keep rotating around and you haven't had the type of man that you expect, that you respect, give you feedback that you actually act on, it's going to be very hard to keep him around because he's just not going to waste his time. And the other thing, he told this young woman, like Lucy said, she was complaining that she was with a man and he left her for a lesser attractive woman. Like I said, I am happily average. And what Kevin told her is his exact quote was, so what does that teach you? And you all know he has said men will go down in looks to go up in cooperation, especially once they have matured out of that shiny new toy phase of life. All men go through it. They all want the hot girl, the fast car, the pretty young thing, whatever. And that's fine. And we should definitely represent ourselves and represent our men well. But ladies, your position is not guaranteed. Every day you need to show up as the best version of yourself. Every day you need to check your ego. I can say to myself in my head, do you know who I am? I do this and I do that. That's not how I am anyway, but Be self aware. He talks about that in this episode. If you have a tendency to talk back, to always explain yourself, you like to fight, you like to debate. There was one woman who called and said there was, police involved in her relationship, and he held her to task. He was like, so you mean to tell me you didn't have anything to instigate? And she finally admitted, yeah, my mouth is kind of slick. So we'll move on from that, but you, as an adult, you know who you are, you know how you are, you've been given that feedback. So it's your choice to act on it or not, because, like Gillis says, you won't be able to keep the caliber of man that you want. All right, let's see what else you all are saying in the chat, and then I'm going to ask Lucy to chime in. Suave D says, I don't like women who make excuses. I like women who are proactive and seek help to become better and more attractive to men. There you go. Here's Auntie Jenny from the UK. Last Man Standing says, seems like most modern women take being submissive and soft and feminine as a weakness. We seem to live in a world where a woman wants to prove they can do everything a man can do, that we are equal. Yeah, he talked about that independence. And Auntie Jenny says dating as an older woman is challenging. Yeah, it's just not our time. Live, love, plan, pray says my man, 16 years into it, always gives me feedback. Oh my God, I know. And sometimes it's hard to hear or accept, but it has only made me a better woman for myself and for him. And ladies, that's what men love. And Next Level coming in with the $20. We got a new sponsor saying thank you for keeping the name and work of Kevin Samuels alive. Thank you, Swab D. I'm going to put Next Level in the banner. Lucy, what would you add?
Yes, the young lady that one of the reasons she says that broke up that relationship, that she said it was because there was abuse. And then he indeed put her to task. He said, so was it just you or was it mutual? What did the police report say? And the police report say that it was a mutual encounter. I don't know what the verb, what the language, mutual combat. So that's when she agreed that it was, yeah, it was my mouth. Oh my goodness, BLJ. Oh, they're always, like we say, men are always watching. And there he is. Not yet. Hold on. A minute. A man's time. All right. So, and then on the other young lady, oh, another thing that we've been saying often is that men are not going to give you any feedback if they don't care about you. If a man tells you about something, you better listen to him because it's either somebody that cares for you on a platonic, maybe father figure, uncle, brother at work, or somebody that really wants something additional to be with you. And that's how they see whether you take correction the right way or you come back and start being combative. And men, truly, they do not want to fight. They're not, the last thing they want to do is fight, especially with the one that they think that they could have something with. That's the last thing. They do not want combative women around them because we're supposed to be their peace. We're supposed to provide that home that when they come home, it's a now I can relax. The last thing they want to hear is all that, you know, that mouth and that nagging and that going back and forth with something where you can say, oh, you know what, honey, I can see your point. I will do better next time. That's that.
All right, so we have a new stream sponsor. You all know him and you love him. One of the founding fathers for Lucy and my finishing school for the modern woman, BLJ. Thank you, thank you again. Thank you, Swati. Thank you, Next Level. But we have a new stream sponsor, and BLJ says, a man's time is his greatest currency. If he is investing his time with you, he expects you to do the work and pay it forward. Relationships are reflective, and you are who you attract. Thank you, Brandon. Just thank you so much. There are no words. So incredibly grateful. Yes. All right. So, ladies, a couple of things that I have in my notes here that Kevin said. One of the things that in this episode about we modern women don't understand men, you hear a lot of women say, "Oh, I'm independent." And I love this quote. Kevin told this woman, I don't know if this was the nurse or whoever she was, but she works. She says, I make good money. So you all know how Kevin would surgically like peel that onion back and ask, okay, so if there's a bump in the night, you're going to call 911. Our man has become the assistance, the government, this safe world that men have created for us. And he told her, you are not independent. You make money. And that's very different, ladies. I work, Lucy works. Having an income does not make you independent. And I think a lot of modern women, I think a lot of younger modern women think, oh, I have a paycheck, so I can do everything a man can do. And I'm telling you, as an older woman, I'll be 50 next year, you are going to naturally slow down. And Kevin said it in this episode. He said, I know plenty of women who make money, but how many of them want to? So don't let your temporary situation where you are a workhorse and putting that strong back to work for somebody else confuse you, because a man is so much more than that. And I love that Kevin said in one of the callers, we modern women need more. I think he said gratitude, humility, and appreciation. Back in the day, women realized that men were not just something you could pluck off of a tree. So we really appreciated our men. One of the things I love about Lucy is how she always says, my husband, my dear husband. And you can just feel the warmth and how she loves him and how he loves her. And I think that it doesn't matter if you've been together, 12 years, like me, I think Lucy, 15, 16, 17 years, live, love, plan, and pray, 16 years. It doesn't matter. Every day is an opportunity to show gratitude and to realize that if our men, I shudder at the thought, like if our men just said, you know what, yeah, I'm done. I cannot imagine. And I make good money on paper, but I am nothing, absolutely nothing, useless. I'll speak for myself without my man. That is what I'm proudest about, how I take care of those that I love. All right, so let's see. Oh, another one. Oh my gosh, this woman called in. There was a woman who called in. I think this is the woman who had two illegitimate children, but she had a man who was interested in her. And he asked her about her being able to be agreeable and submit. I can't remember the exact words, but her response was, I'll do that for the right man. And he stopped her right there. And ladies, this is another thing you have to realize. Just like we said, the men are always watching. They're here in the chat, always watching. But he said, men watch how you treat other men that you think are beneath you. And Kevin talked about this in his monologue. Even though he was a Kappa and, Tom Ford suits and all that, Kevin came from the salt of the earth. And I'm going to say, all of us do. None of us are silver spoon. He said that one of his statistics, 83% of millionaires are first generation, which means these men got it out of the mud themselves. I think my man has $1 million portfolio, but comes from blue collar. He's the first in his generation. Just like Kevin said, I come from military and oil rig, and he gets very upset when women try to talk down to our military men, our blue collar men. We have them in the chat here. So the point, ladies, is that Kevin said in this episode, men don't want women who switch up, because he asked her, okay, you want a man? Are you okay if your man is masculine only for the right woman? Or do you want him to be a man all the time? She was like, oh, no. And he was like, it's almost like, well, what the heck? What do you think? So watch out for that, ladies, because the men that we love, if they're businessmen or white collar or whatever man that you see yourself with, he has a deep appreciation and respect for the men that work with their hands, work with their back, toil, go out at, as we say in the South, from can't see in the morning till can't see at night, and really give their lives to take care of their loved ones. So just wanted to drop that point. What did you want to add, Lucy?
Yes, I ask all those young women who tend to think that blue collar workers are less than to go through social media and pull up the type of blue collar work that they do. And I promise you, you will not be willing to get under to do the work that they do. That is hard work, backbreaking work. It's tough. It runs down their bodies, and really, and it's time to start appreciating those men that put their lives on the line to maintain our infrastructure. I think about, when I was very young, there was an earthquake in Nicaragua. The ones that were rebuilding and moving things around when the structures were falling apart were the men. And what did women do? The mothers and the children, we were put to the side, and so the men did the hard work. I've been in hurricanes. I've been in two hurricanes in Florida when the landlines, the electricity and the trees were down. The men were the ones that, and the reason I feel so um, incredibly grateful for men is because I have seen how they work just to make our lives easier. I have seen it in real life. You know, this I went through a civil war, maybe almost two in Venezuela. The first ones that went out there to fight against the other government and the ones that were creating problems were the young men, the men. Every time that they wanted to, that one system wanted to take over the other system, they pulled the young men and the men out of their homes at night to go work for them. So again, it's time for young ladies to understand that the life that you have, that they've created for us, it's amazing. You have no idea what it is to be in a world where the men have to go out there and really fight for us. And you need to understand that if the stuff hits the fan, you better have that man next to you because he's the one that's going to get you through it. Watch the those zombie movies. Watch any apocalypse movie and look at how things shut down, how the infrastructure shut down, and you do have to have that survivalist instinct. And men have it; it's in their DNA. Men are just amazing. I'm sorry, I love our men.
I love our men too. Let's see what our men are saying in the chat. I love them all, young, old, married, single. I just think we need to give them their flowers because there's too much foolishness out here. All right, let's see what you all are saying in the chat, and then we'll come back to the last few comments. And all right, I think we talked about, okay, we covered that one. All right. All right, we talked about live, love, plan, and pray. Okay, so next level said, yeah, mutual combat, it is what it is 90% of the time. I'll just say this, ladies, because I don't touch on this area because I am not an expert, but just ask yourself if, I think it just comes down to accountability. What could you have done better in any circumstance? What could you have done to avoid something bad happening, if at all? And I'll just move on from that. The Condemned is talking about the Jonathan Majors and Megan Good. I don't know all of the details, but I will say this. Yeah, there are examples all around us of how we women don't understand men. And hopefully you ladies are learning something tonight. Gillis says, glad to hear you're out there trying, Auntie Jenny. You've resolved and peaceful in my solo journey. It's very, very freeing. Never say never, but it feels nice to be happy as is. And I understand and I appreciate that. I thought long and hard about that when I was getting divorced, that this could be it for me. I never in a million years thought, oh, I'm just going to have this divorce party and, go pick the next one up off of the tree. I think it's really telling. And I think it's really disrespectful when women do that. So I would just say, I mean, luckily for me, I learned my lesson and I got, in a relationship pretty much immediately because I'm a relationship girl. But I think having that understanding that we may not have a second chance. You get one, maybe two. And if you don't choose wisely and if it doesn't work, there is no guarantee, ladies. And the men know that because there's no guarantee for them. So thank you, Killis, for saying that. And I would just say, as older women, I think, and that's what we try to do here, and I see you doing it too, Killis, we can share what we've done right and what we've done wrong to pay it forward, and hopefully someone can learn from our mistakes. Auntie Jenny says, have the same respect and manner you would with your father if you were raised with him. Yes. I remember there's, maybe not in this episode, but there were times when women would call into Kevin Samuels and he would scold them about how just familiar, they were, just talking to him any kind of way. And he said, would you do that if I were so and so? I think another way that we don't understand men, ladies, is we've talked about it was before that respect is paramount to them. They don't care about your love if you don't respect them. You can say, "Oh, but I love him 100 times." Disrespect him one time. That disrespect will overplay all of the love you show him, all the intimacy or whatever you think you're doing. So make sure that, and part of it is taking that feedback and not arguing, especially because, like Lucy said, the man is only going to speak if he cares about you. Because we have somebody in the chat who said, yeah, he'll watch you crash out if you have demonstrated that you're not trying to listen. And thank you, BLJ. Yes, Live, Love, Plan, and Pray says, as a young lady, you can learn, adapt, and change for your man. And I think that's beautiful. Some women may scowl at that, but I think customizing ourselves every day to be what he needs, I think that's what makes the bond even stronger. When you realize I am his and he is mine. All right, Auntie Jenny says, I'm trying to be the best woman I know how to be, allowing myself to be molded by alpha men around me. Father told me never to chase a man. That's true. If he's attracted to you, you'll know. There was a woman who called in and said, when she approaches men, and Kevin was like, why are you approaching men? And that's another thing, ladies, don't understand. I know these are modern times, but if you want a masculine man, they are the pursuers and they will go after what they want. Your job is to be what they want and be available. All right. So Marlon asks, how often do you ladies go live? And the turnoff is a lot of women think I am the table. Yeah, that's just foolishness to me. I don't even have anything to say about that. Just nuts. But the Wise Club is here every week, usually on Fridays. Sometimes we have to reschedule because of me, but usually on Fridays. So the Wise Club is here every week. And then Lucy and I will actually be streaming again tomorrow. So once a week we give back, as a way of, continuing what we do. And the Finishing School for the Modern Woman is our private school for ladies of all ages. And so it's a way for us to stay out in front and kind of promote an opportunity for ladies who do want to get better and invest in themselves. We have a class, a course, a community. Auntie Jenny says, I'm happy with my life without a man, but a good man makes me happier. Amen. And Auntie Jenny says, how you handle an order from a man is very telling. That is true. Suave D says, ladies, a little bit of appreciation for us men can go a long way. And that's the thing. I love how he says a little bit. You would be so surprised, ladies, how just incremental progress will give you good points. Because men realize that accomplishing something takes work and they didn't wake up and become the man that they are. Kevin said in this episode, it almost broke my heart a little bit, but like I've said before, ask any man that you respect. They have an origin story. And Kevin said that all men get to a point where they wake up one day. My man told me it happened to him. He sat up in bed at 25 and was like, I don't know anything. But all men come to a point where they're like, I kind of suck right now. I'm not, working hard enough. I'm not fit enough. I'm not this enough. And I don't think we women really appreciate how much men are their own harshest critic, too. And so to get to where they can command the respect that I think they deserve, it takes a lot. And so even if you're not where you want to be, even if you slip up and have your moments, if your man realizes that you're trying, if you take his feedback and you listen, if you show appreciation and gratitude and affection, it really does go a long way with them. So thank you, Suave D. And the condemn says, I have my bright orange high visibility vest on after working on call 16-hour days for storm restoration from power outages. So many women have no idea how hard we work. Oh, I'm gonna try not to cry. So they can complain in comfort. We can wrap it up right here. Ladies, just, I'm going to leave that one there. Mm, mm, yeah. Um, Next level says most of the independent women can't open a jar of pickles, myself included. Thank you again, Swab D, for the $5. We appreciate you so much. Auntie Jenny says, close your mouth, open your ears is what you tell the glam children. And Gillis says, my mistake is when I was young, I was not taking things seriously and not moving with a purpose, and that time waits for no one. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being vulnerable with us. My goodness. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so the last one that I have here, and then we'll ask Lucy to chime in, and then we'll wrap it up. The last one that I listened to, like I said, I got to about two-thirds of the way through, was a woman who called in, and she had a 15-year-old son, and she hadn't been in a relationship for 4 years. She had been doing other things, her business, but Kevin got on to her about not prioritizing relationship for a couple of reasons. And this one hit home with me. You know, he basically told her, you have a son husband. You have made your son, your teenage son, your emotional support system. And what happens when he gets up and out? College, military job, you are going to, not only is this bad for you, it's bad for your boy. And so, those of us who do have children, it's a delicate balance, but we have to make sure that we are doing what's best for our children, but also making sure that we are keeping those relationship muscles strong and ready. Because a lot of women find themselves completely unprepared for a lot of reasons. But this one right here, you know, he was asking her, what purpose is a man in your life? Because when you go so many years without showing interest in a relationship, and then all of a sudden you want one, what that kind of tells a man is that you're not really serious. Because women who are serious about relationships, we prioritize that. Even if we have, you know, kids or other things, you know, we do the extra effort to say, hey, I don't want to buy a dog and die alone. So just know that, ladies, men are going to see that, and they're going to want to know, okay, but what are you going to bring to me? Because a lot of times when women have delayed it, then they get to a point where, okay, I'm tired of doing this all by myself. Now I want a man to come in and rescue me. And that's going to make it even harder for you. You and me and those of us who want relationships always need to be thinking about, how can I make his life better? And that's how you get what you want. What would you add, Lucy?
And we just, I think either was next level. One of our men in the chat said that sometimes when a woman gets to a certain age, they see the man, or men see themselves as the retirement plan. So again, it's just so disappointing to see maybe women seeing men as something that they can use and not something that they can appreciate and cherish because of who they are. So again, it's heartbreaking because I have my nephews, young nephews, I have, all my young nephews, I see them going through this modern world that it's tough for men. And then to see these women just wanting them just because they want to have their financial side of their lives taken care of, it's not going to end up nicely. And a lot of men are seeing it and they're saying, we want no part of this. And even those women that want marriage, it's getting harder for them to do it because the legal system benefits the women and not the men. And the men are not seeing any benefits marrying a woman. So again, married women, cherish your men, appreciate them. Women with long-term relationships, just be grateful to be next to that man that wants you to be next to him, because life is getting tougher. And this thing, men wanting to be with women just because they're beautiful, is no longer playing out. They're going to see the outside, but they're going to test out what's on the inside. If your inside is just, you have nothing to offer, it's only going to be a fast time, quick time. And then when the real woman appears, that's the one that they're going to be, asking to either marry them or to be in a relationship with.
Absolutely. So well said, lady. So again, unfortunately for us, this is what the modern world, and we can do anything, girl power, feminism. Well, what did Kevin say? Womanism, he said that in this episode. Womanism is a first world problem. And ladies, this is what we asked for. So just know that and understand that number one, when it comes to relationships, we are not holding the cards. There is no man that we respect that a woman proposed to him and he got on her program. It just doesn't happen. So if you want a relationship, understanding that we don't understand men, we don't really know the caliber of men that we want to be in relationship with. So that means we need to do work to learn them, to take the feedback, to study them, and to make incremental progress. And when you have a man who is emotionally vested in you, when you have a man who is giving you feedback, who is challenging you to be better, who is spending time with you, even if it hurts your ego or hurts your feelings in the moment, realize how precious that is. And like Kevin said, don't blow it because you do not want to be out here searching because this is just not, you just don't. All right, let's see what you all are saying, and we're going to wrap it up. Auntie Jenny says, people expect my son to care for me when I get old. That's not his job or duty. Absolutely. And you all know I'm a boy mom too, and I've told both of the boys, they're teenagers, you live your own life. I want to leave you something. Your dad and I are here to make sure that you all can go out and live your life. Unfortunately, so many women have handicapped their children because they didn't choose wisely in relationships. They couldn't keep a man, so now they burden their children with their problems. I'm not doing that. And good for you, Auntie Jenny. Darnell says, do you think the history of this country has a lot to do with the belief that black women don't really believe they need a man to survive? The history of this country, no, I think this is a modern concept. Kevin talked a lot about this. If you look at our community after slavery, Civil War time, up until what was it, like the 20s or 30s, we had the highest marriage rate. This is a new thing. So no, um, it is not the history of our country. We are better together, and I think we know that too. Marlon says, wisdom like this would make an alpha putty in your hands. Thank you for the compliment. Next level says, men don't mind being used. The problem is women want to misuse men. Ugh. And yeah, women, I'll just say this. We've said it before. You're not getting away with anything. Men are always watching. They may give you one chance. They may even give you two. But if you show that you are consistently in it for self, you're here to serve me, you're here to give me what I want, you'll find yourself alone. Don't believe me. Like we say in the South, keep on living. Oh my goodness, yes. Please put BLJ in the banner. Ah, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm gonna put you in the banner, and then we're gonna uh, wrap up. Thank you, Brandon Eljet. You are our stream sponsor. Thank you, Suave D. Thank you, Next Level. But BLJ again has come through with the $100 super chat, and my mistake for not getting it up there. All right, let's see if there's any other. Yeah, we were 80% married until 1965. So, yeah, this is a new thing. So, ladies, don't let this current world fool you from what's happened for hundreds of years. Okay. Um, that is all for tonight. Lucy, do you have anything to close us out?
I think we are good. And I'm glad that you talked about the last lady because I didn't get to that one. And I started listening to it. And the fact that she had children and I don't, it was, it's harder to relate. You can't give that example all together. So I'm glad that you explained it, and you had viable examples to give from your life. And yeah, it was a long live stream for Kevin Samuels, but as always, he was always filled with wisdom and just the desire to make women, not make them, but maybe to try to change our perspective on how we see men in the modern world.
Yeah, if you all have a chance, I would highly encourage you to watch this episode because Lucy is right. Kevin said he always used to say, I'm here to help people get what they want or what they say they want." And he added, "And men want women. Men want feminine, beautiful, inspirational, cooperative women." So even though Auntie Lucy and Auntie Maggie are here spanking you and spanking myself, ultimately, ladies, we are better together and we want you to win. And the men that you want women, but they're not going to put up with the foolishness, and they have the upper hand when it comes to relationships. So, hopefully, this was helpful. We're going to wrap up tonight. Lucy and I will be back tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, on our channels. And Lucy has another video about 6 things that husbands need from their wives. So if you want more of this content, tune in tomorrow. And thank you all so much. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. And again, the Wives Club will be back next week, Friday, with a new episode. So until then, let me thank our sponsors. Thank you, Brandon L. Jett. Thank you, BLJ, for the $100. You are our stream sponsor. Swive D for the $15, and Next Level for the $20. All right, everyone. Gillis says, lovely to listen. I'm glad it's helpful, and thank you for sharing. All right, everybody. Have a good Friday evening, and we will see you all next time. Adios.
Adios.